I think a good way to tell you that is about a song that I have on the new Rebirth album, which I try to tell the story in like 3.5 minutes.
Jimmy Cliff, at 81, is finally opening up about Bob Marley. That alone is enough to make reggae fans sit up and pay attention. These two legends shaped the music scene in Jamaica and around the world, but their relationship has always been wrapped in mystery and speculation. In this video, we are going to explore Jimmy Cliff's career, his encounters with Bob Marley, the stories that never made it to headlines, and what his recent revelations mean for fans and the reggae community today. Stick around for insights, laughs, and maybe a few surprises. Jimmy Cliff, a quick profile. Jimmy Cliff was born in 1948 in Jamaica and grew up in a world filled with music, culture, and a fair share of challenges. From a young age, he showed a talent for singing and songwriting that would later define reggae as we know it. His first major breakthrough came with the song Hurricane Hattie in the 1960s, and soon after, he became a household name in Jamaica with hits like Many Rivers to Cross and You Can Get It If You Really Want. Beyond his voice, Jimmy Cliff became an actor, starring in the 1972 classic The Harder They Come, a film that introduced reggae and Jamaican culture to audiences worldwide. Jimmy's contributions to music and film went beyond entertainment. He used his platform to address social issues, political struggles, and human rights. While he never sought the spotlight as aggressively as some of his contemporaries, his impact has been undeniable. His songs resonate across generations, and even today, young musicians cite him as a key influence. For anyone trying to understand reggae history, Jimmy Cliff is essential. Even at 81, Jimmy remains active in music and public life. He continues to perform, release new material, and speak on topics that matter to him, including his reflections on fellow reggae icons. His longevity in the music industry is impressive, and it is clear that his passion for music has never faded. There is a certain energy in his performances that makes it hard to believe he has been in the business for over 6 decades. Fans often joke that Jimmy must have discovered the secret to eternal youth through music. Jimmy Cliff's personality is as noteworthy as his talent. He is known for being humble, grounded, and approachable, despite his fame. Interviewers often note his warmth and sense of humor, qualities that have earned him respect across the entertainment industry. In conversation, he is candid and thoughtful, often reflecting on his experiences with a clarity that only comes with decades of life lessons. He is not afraid to admit mistakes or missteps, and that honesty has contributed to his enduring reputation. In summary, Jimmy Cliff is not just a musician or actor. He is a cultural icon who has lived through the highs and lows of the music world and emerged as a respected figure both in Jamaica and internationally. Understanding his life and career is key to appreciating the context of his relationship with Bob Marley and the recent statements that have fans talking. Jimmy's story shows resilience, creativity, and a commitment to making music that matters. Bob Marley, the icon we all know. Bob Marley is one of those names that needs no introduction, but his story is worth revisiting. Born in 1945 in 9 Mile, Jamaica, Marley rose from humble beginnings to become a global music icon. He started his career in the early 1960s with the Wailers, a group that blended ska, rocksteady, and reggae into a sound that would define a generation. Over the decades, Marley became more than just a musician. He became a symbol of resistance, hope, and unity, representing the struggles and triumphs of Jamaica and the wider world. His music was revolutionary in both sound and message. Songs like Get Up, Stand Up, No a Woman, No Cry, and One Love mixed infectious rhythms with powerful social commentary. Marley spoke about oppression, poverty, and peace in a way that resonated globally. He used reggae as a tool for communication, turning complex issues into something that could reach anyone, anywhere. His lyrics were never just entertainment. They carried meaning, and that is part of why he remains relevant decades after his death. Marley's influence extended far beyond Jamaica. In the 1970s, he toured internationally, exposing audiences to reggae and Rastafarian culture. He performed at some of the largest venues in the world, often drawing massive crowds. Even people who had never set foot in Jamaica were touched by his music and message. He became a cultural ambassador without necessarily intending to. His style, message, and charisma combined to make him a figure that transcended music, entering the broader cultural and political spheres. Despite his fame, Bob Marley's life was not without challenges. He faced political unrest, assassination attempts, and health struggles. His dedication to music and his message sometimes put him in danger, yet he continued to perform and speak out. This resilience only added to his legend. Fans admired him not just for his talent, but for his courage and integrity. Marley's story reminds us that an impact is measured not just by hits or awards, but by influence on hearts and minds. Marley's personality contributed heavily to his enduring appeal. Those who knew him describe him as charismatic, warm, and deeply committed to his principles. He had a sense of humor and a humility that made people feel comfortable around him, even as he grew into an international superstar. This combination of talent and character helped solidify his place in history. Today, Bob Marley's music continues to inspire. Reggae artists, pop stars, and even political movements reference his work. His songs are streamed millions of times a day, and his image remains iconic worldwide. For fans of reggae and music history, understanding Marley is essential. His life story sets the stage for appreciating the relationship he had with fellow legends like Jimmy Cliff. In short, Bob Marley is not just a musician. He is a cultural symbol whose music and message continue to influence generations. His legacy, built on talent, message, and charisma, is one that Jimmy Cliff and other contemporaries could never ignore. Appreciating Marley's life gives context to the insights Jimmy Cliff shares today about their friendship, collaboration, and mutual respect. Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley, early encounters. Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley crossed paths in Jamaica's music scene long before either became a global icon. In the early 1960s, the island was alive with ska, rocksteady, and the emerging rhythms of reggae clubs, recording studios, and street performances formed the backdrop of a tight-knit music community. It was in this environment that Jimmy and Bob first noticed each other. Both were ambitious, talented, and driven to put Jamaican music on the world stage, but they approached it differently. Jimmy had a smooth charisma and an almost cinematic presence, while Marley had a magnetic intensity that drew people in. Their early encounters were often professional, but carried hints of rivalry. Studio sessions were competitive, and collaborations were rare. Both artists wanted to make an impact, and their different styles meant they sometimes competed for attention and opportunities. Yet, there was mutual respect underneath the competition. Friends and colleagues recall that Jimmy admired Marley's passion and authenticity, while Marley recognized Jimmy's skill and dedication. In the crowded and challenging music scene of 1960s Jamaica, earning respect from a peer like Marley was no small feat. Touring brought Jimmy and Bob into closer contact. In those early years, gigs were often small, improvised, and exhausting. They shared stages at local events, sometimes performing back-to-back, sometimes together. These shared experiences forged a bond based on understanding the grind of building a career from scratch. Despite rumors of rivalry, these encounters were also marked by camaraderie. Observers note that backstage conversations often included encouragement, advice, and sometimes playful teasing about musical techniques or stage presence. Early interviews and accounts hint at a mix of admiration and envy between the two. Jimmy, ever humble, has said in past interviews that Marley had a drive he had not seen in anyone else. At the same time, Marley reportedly respected Jimmy's ability to connect with audiences emotionally. Both were aware that their success would eventually define reggae internationally. This awareness likely shaped their interactions, creating a dynamic that balanced competition with mutual recognition. Some moments stand out as legendary anecdotes. For example, studio sessions where Marley's energy clashed with Jimmy's methodical approach created both tension and innovation. Friends recall instances where one would inspire the other to push creative boundaries, resulting in tracks that might never have existed otherwise. These early experiences laid the groundwork for a complex relationship that combined respect, influence, and occasional friendly rivalry. By the late 1960s, both artists were gaining international attention. Jimmy Cliff was moving toward film and soundtrack work, while Bob Marley and the Wailers were defining the reggae sound globally. Their early encounters, full of music, competition, and shared ambition, set the stage for decades of intertwined legacies. While fans have long speculated about the nature of their relationship, the truth appears to have been a mix of professional respect, occasional rivalry, and a shared commitment to spreading Jamaican music far beyond the island. In summary, the early encounters between Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley were formative for both. They shaped each other's approach to music, performance, and ambition. Understanding these beginnings gives context to the stories Jimmy Cliff shares today, and highlights how two driven artists navigated friendship and competition in a scene that would eventually captivate the entire world. The stories that never made headlines. When it comes to Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley, much of what fans think they know comes from interviews, documentaries, and music history. But countless stories never made it to headlines. These behind-the-scenes moments show the personalities of both legends, how they interacted, and the small incidents that reveal their humanity. Beyond the stage, Jimmy Cliff, in particular, has been tight-lipped for decades, making his recent revelations all the more intriguing. One of the recurring themes from old accounts is the friendly competition in the studio. Jimmy and Marley were both perfectionists who cared deeply about how their music sounded. Sources recall studio sessions where Bob would insist on perfect takes, while Jimmy experimented with improvisation. The resulting push and pull often led to creative breakthroughs. Fans never saw the tension, only the polished final tracks. For Jimmy, these sessions were formative, teaching him patience, innovation, and resilience under pressure. Another type of story revolves around touring experiences. In the early 1970s, Jamaican musicians often performed in packed venues. Sometimes with limited resources, Jimmy has shared anecdotes about traveling long distances between shows, dealing with unpredictable weather, and performing in venues where electricity or sound systems failed mid-song. Marley, known for his dedication, would often support fellow musicians, offering encouragement and occasionally sharing his own gear to ensure the show went on. These moments reflected camaraderie, not just competition. Fans are also curious about personal habits and quirks. Jimmy has hinted that Bob had a playful side off stage, enjoying jokes and teasing his peers. Similarly, Jimmy himself was known for his calm demeanor and practical approach, which sometimes contrasted with Bob's intensity. Together, they created a dynamic that balanced focus with levity. Small details like who drank the last bottle of soda in the green room, or who stayed up late writing lyrics may seem trivial, but they shaped the everyday interactions that built respect and friendship. There are also stories of mutual influence. Jimmy has admitted that observing Marley's stage presence and vocal control pushed him to elevate his own performances. Conversely, Marley learned from Jimmy's ability to connect with audiences emotionally, turning a song into an experience. These behind-the-scenes influences never made it into music magazines, but they were essential in shaping two of reggae's most enduring figures. Even today, these untold stories add depth to our understanding of Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley. They remind us that legends are human, with moments of imperfection, humor, and generosity. Jimmy's recent reflections show that decades later, these small, often overlooked experiences still resonate and hold meaning for him. They offer a glimpse into the kind of relationship that cannot be summarized in headlines or viral posts. In short, the stories that never made headlines are about friendship, mentorship, and quiet moments of influence. They reveal how two giants of reggae shaped each other's careers and lives, often in ways the public never saw. These moments make Jimmy Cliff's recent statements even more compelling, as they add context and richness to a lifelong connection with Bob Marley. What Jimmy Cliff said, finally breaking his silence. After decades of quiet, Jimmy Cliff recently spoke about Bob Marley in an interview that has fans buzzing. At 81, he reflected on their friendship, mutual respect, and what it was like to share a stage and studio with one of music's most influential figures. For many, hearing Jimmy Cliff finally break his silence provides new insights into Marley's personality, creative process, and the dynamic between the two reggae legends. Jimmy began by emphasizing his admiration for Marley. He spoke about Marley's dedication to music and his audience, recalling how Bob would rehearse tirelessly, often arriving early to ensure everything was perfect. Jimmy highlighted the contrast between Marley's intensity and his own more measured approach, explaining that their different styles actually complemented each other. While Marley brought raw energy, Jimmy contributed a sense of calm and focus. These differences, according to Jimmy, were part of why their interactions were productive and meaningful. He also shared personal anecdotes, Jimmy recounted times on tour when Marley's leadership shone, whether encouraging fellow musicians or navigating tense situations backstage. At the same time, Jimmy noted Marley's lighter moments, teasing bandmates or joking between takes. These glimpses behind the scenes paint a fuller picture of Marley, not just as a global icon, but as a colleague and friend. Jimmy's reflections also hint at mutual influence. Watching Marley work inspired Jimmy to push his performances further, while Marley respected Jimmy's ability to connect emotionally with audiences. In addition, Jimmy addressed the rumors of rivalry that have circulated for decades. He clarified that while they were sometimes competitors in the studio or on stage, it was never hostile. In fact, he said that competition pushed them both to elevate their work. He admitted that seeing Marley's rise could have been intimidating at times, but ultimately, it was motivating. The underlying respect they had for each other was stronger than any fleeting envy. Finally, Jimmy reflected on the legacy both of them have built. He expressed pride in being part of a generation that introduced reggae to the world and acknowledged Marley's pivotal role in shaping the genre globally. Jimmy's statements convey a mix of nostalgia, admiration, and humility. They also serve as a reminder that relationships between creative giants are often more nuanced than headlines suggest. This interview marks a rare and valuable perspective from someone who witnessed reggae history firsthand. For fans, this is more than a story. It is an opportunity to appreciate the personal dynamics that contributed to some of the most influential music of the 20th century. Jimmy Cliff's words provide context, clarity, and even humor, showing that these legends were human, ambitious, and sometimes playful. Listening to his reflections offers lessons about respect, collaboration, and the enduring impact of art. In short, Jimmy Cliff breaking his silence is a reminder that even decades later, there is still more to learn about the lives behind the music. His insights enrich the narrative of reggae history and give fans a deeper understanding of the man behind the legend, Bob Marley. Fans react, social media buzz. When Jimmy Cliff finally spoke about Bob Marley, social media erupted. Fans around the world took to platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit to share reactions, memes, and reflections. Some celebrated the long-awaited insight into the relationship between two reggae legends, while others debated what his comments meant for Marley's legacy. For many, Jimmy's words offered a rare personal glimpse into the lives behind the music. The reactions varied widely. Longtime reggae fans expressed excitement and nostalgia, recalling concerts, albums, and interviews that shaped their love for the genre. They highlighted moments from the new interview that confirmed what they had long suspected, that Marley and Cliff shared deep mutual respect, even if their paths sometimes crossed competitively. Younger fans, many discovering reggae through streaming platforms, were fascinated by the anecdotes and insights, which made the legends more relatable. Some joked that Jimmy Cliff finally leaked the original reggae tea decades late, a playful acknowledgement of fans' eagerness for insider stories. Memes quickly circulated online. Some imagined Marley and Cliff as competitors in an imaginary reggae Olympics, complete with domino tournaments and high-energy performances. Others focused on Jimmy's humorous asides, using them to create lighthearted commentary on the music industry and the life of touring artists. These fan-generated responses show how social media can take a serious revelation and turn it into a mix of entertainment, discussion, and homage. Debates emerged about rivalry versus friendship. Some fans speculated that Jimmy's statements would change public perception of Marley's personality or their professional dynamic. Others argued that the interview confirmed what insiders had long known, that collaboration and competition often coexist in music, and that both artists benefited from each other's presence. Comment threads became mini history lessons, with fans linking to past performances, rare recordings, and archival footage to support their points. Social media also provided a platform for shared memories. Many users posted personal stories about how Jimmy Cliff or Bob Marley inspired them, from learning an instrument to embracing reggae's messages of resilience and unity. This reaction underscores the global reach of their music. It also shows how personal insights from legends can reignite engagement with their work, creating new waves of appreciation among audiences of all ages. Interestingly, some reactions focused on the human side of both artists. Fans appreciated hearing about their quirks, humor, and moments of vulnerability. These details made Marley and Cliff more relatable, and social media amplified these stories in ways traditional news coverage cannot. It also sparked curiosity about other untold stories from reggae history, demonstrating that audiences crave depth and context beyond the hits and headlines. In summary, the social media response to Jimmy Cliff speaking about Bob Marley illustrates the enduring power of their music and personalities. Fans celebrated, debated, laughed, and reflected, creating a digital space where history, culture, and personal connection intersect. Jimmy's words not only shed light on reggae's past, but also energized fans to engage with it anew, proving that even decades later, the voices of these legends continue to resonate worldwide. Legacy check: what this means for reggae. Jimmy Cliff's recent reflections on Bob Marley do more than reveal personal anecdotes. They also highlight the lasting impact both artists have had on reggae music and culture. For decades, fans and musicians have looked to Cliff and Marley as benchmarks for authenticity, creativity, and influence. Understanding their connection helps explain how reggae evolved into a global phenomenon while staying true to its roots. One key takeaway from Jimmy's statements is the collaborative nature of reggae's rise. While Marley is often seen as the face of the genre, Jimmy's words show that multiple figures contributed to its development. Their exchanges, studio sessions, and tours illustrate how artists inspired and challenged one another. This mutual influence helped shape the sound, style, and message of reggae in ways that continue to resonate today. The interview also underscores the importance of mentorship and respect. Jimmy highlighted how observing Marley's dedication pushed him to refine his own performances. Likewise, Marley respected Jimmy's ability to connect emotionally with audiences. These dynamics were instrumental in raising the standards of reggae music, making it more compelling and globally accessible. For current artists, this serves as a model. Collaboration and mutual respect can drive creative innovation, even when competition exists. Beyond music, Jimmy's reflections touch on reggae's role in social and political movements. Both artists use their platforms to address issues such as inequality, human rights, and cultural pride. By speaking openly about Marley's influence, Jimmy reinforces the idea that reggae was not only entertainment, but also a vehicle for messaging and advocacy. This perspective deepens appreciation for the genre, showing that its global reach stems from substance, not just catchy rhythms. Jimmy's comments also provide perspective on how legends maintain relevance. Even decades after their peak, the stories, philosophies, and performances of Cliff and Marley continue to inspire new generations of listeners are discovering their music through streaming services, documentaries, and social media. Understanding the personal and professional interactions behind the hits allows fans to appreciate the depth of reggae culture. It also reinforces the idea that musical legacy is as much about relationships and influence as it is about albums and singles. In practical terms, Jimmy's insights may inspire contemporary reggae artists to think differently about collaboration, humility, and audience engagement. Seeing how two giants balanced competition with mutual respect offers lessons in professionalism and artistry. It reminds musicians and fans alike that success is often built on shared experiences and mutual support, rather than solitary genius. In short, the significance of Jimmy Cliff finally breaking his silence reaches beyond nostalgia. It reaffirms the importance of relationships, mentorship, and authenticity in reggae fans gain a richer understanding of the genre's history, while current artists can draw inspiration from the professional and personal principles exemplified by both Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley. Their combined legacy proves that reggae's influence is rooted in collaboration, creativity, and cultural resonance, making it a powerful force that continues to shape music and society worldwide. Lessons from two legends. The relationship between Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley offers more than music history. It's packed with lessons for anyone pursuing a creative or ambitious path. Over decades, both artists navigated fame, competition, and personal growth, showing how talent, persistence, and mutual respect can shape not just careers, but legacies. One clear lesson is the value of resilience. Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley faced obstacles early in their careers, from limited resources to social unrest in Jamaica. Touring was exhausting, recording equipment was sometimes unreliable, and recognition was far from guaranteed. Yet, they continued to create music that resonated deeply with audiences. For anyone working in a competitive field, their persistence shows that dedication matters more than short-term setbacks. Another lesson is the power of collaboration. While they were sometimes competitors, Jimmy and Marley influenced each other in meaningful ways. Watching Marley's intensity inspired Jimmy to elevate his own performances. Marley, in turn, respected Jimmy's emotional connection with audiences, which may have shaped his approach on stage. This give and take reminds us that even in competitive environments, learning from peers and supporting each other can strengthen creativity and innovation. Humility and authenticity also stand out. Both artists maintained a grounded approach despite international fame. Jimmy Cliff, even in interviews, comes across as thoughtful, reflective, and approachable. Marley balanced global stardom with staying true to his beliefs and values. Their example teaches that success is not just about talent or fame. It's about staying authentic and keeping your integrity intact while navigating challenges. Fans and aspiring musicians can also learn from their work ethic. Jimmy and Marley were committed to their craft, often rehearsing tirelessly, experimenting with new ideas, and seeking the highest standards in music production. This dedication demonstrates that natural talent alone is rarely enough. Continuous effort, curiosity, and a willingness to refine one's skills are essential to achieving lasting impact. Additionally, their story shows the importance of mentorship and influence. Even small interactions, studio sessions, or backstage advice had lasting effects. Today, when Jimmy Cliff shares stories about Marley, those lessons extend beyond their immediate circle, reaching a global audience. It's a reminder that guidance and encouragement can ripple outward, inspiring people you may never meet personally. Finally, their relationship demonstrates the role of respect and longevity. While competition existed, neither artist let it turn into resentment. They maintained mutual admiration, understanding that collaboration and influence can coexist with ambition. This approach not only preserved personal bonds, but also enhanced their artistic output. In short, the lives of Jimmy Cliff and Bob Marley provide lessons about resilience, collaboration, humility, dedication, mentorship, and respect. Their experiences show that enduring success is not measured solely by fame or awards, but by the influence you have on others and the integrity you maintain along the way. For fans, musicians, or anyone chasing goals, these insights are timeless. Listening to Jimmy Cliff reflect on his relationship with Marley reminds us that greatness is often shaped by connections, shared effort, and unwavering commitment to craft and principles.